What's up, guys? Rick here with your DFS preview for this week's Zurich Classic. This is a team event, something unique on the PGA Tour and something that will be unique for fantasy purposes. So we'll talk through the intricacies of this format and the best way to pursue it. Two things right out of the gate as far as announcements go. You guys might have seen this if you follow me on Twitter. Max Homa and Colin Morikawa are playing together. They announced this a couple of weeks ago by creating a Dodgers jersey, a custom Dodgers jersey that says Homakawa on the back. And because I'm a sicko, I went and got a couple of these custom made, right, from the Dodgers shop. So I've got Dodgers jerseys with Homakawa 23 across the back, and I've got three of these. I'll probably keep one and I'll give the other two away, but I'll definitely give at least two away. I might give all three away. I thought it would be fun. I don't know. Maybe it was a lapse in judgment. Maybe no one else thinks it's cool. I don't know. I'll give it away. Here's what you have to do. Just be subscribed to my newsletter. It's rickrungood.com/newsletter. If you're already subscribed, you're already entered. There's a link in the description. The other way that you can get involved, and you can do both, follow me on Instagram. It's RickRunGood on Instagram. That's it. If you're already following me on Instagram, you're already in. So very, very easy stuff. Links are in the description. Obviously, you don't have to buy anything or anything like that. Additionally, my website, rickrungood.com, which I will use to show you the data for this week, where it makes sense and where it was possible, I've aggregated the teams together so that you can see the combined stats for each one of these players and the combined finishes. Again, most places you'll still be able to go back and see individual players, but if you want to view them as teams, considering it is a team event, they've been aggregated together. So you'll see that on the cheat sheet, you'll see it on the power rankings, and I guess most importantly, you'll see it on the custom model. So the way that it'll work this week is you are not allowed to choose two golfers from the same team in the same lineup. So you cannot choose both Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. They will get the same number of fantasy points no matter what. Doesn't matter if Cantlay makes 18 birdies and Xander makes none. They both get the same number of points. So the way that the custom model will work is that you'll basically just be given one guy. So you might make 50 lineups with Cantlay and Xander, and it just might be 50 Patrick Cantlay lineups, right? It doesn't really matter. You're not going to be able to choose both of those golfers. If you choose one, you choose both. So I made the custom model available this week so that you could build correct lineups and aggregate the stats, still apply the filters, still apply the weights, all that stuff, but do it based on team stats as opposed to individual stats. So I thought that was a pretty cool way to use that, especially for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any issues or any questions, but otherwise, let's jump in to this DFS preview right now. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the format for this week. So it's 80 teams of 2. There will be a cut after 36 holes. So on Friday night, there'll be a cut down to the top 33 teams and ties. And the way that they will play is on Thursday, they will play 4-ball, which means every single person in the group plays their own ball. And the best score out of your group is your score for that hole. So for example, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, they're playing together. They play their own ball. If Xander makes a 3 and Cantlay makes a 4, their team gets a 3. If they both make 3s, it's a 3. If Cantlay makes a 3 and Xander makes a 10, it's a 3, right? Just best score. So this is where you'll see a ton of fantasy scoring. You'll see guys on 59 watch, right? Like if you're making pars, you are losing ground. These guys are going to go very, very low. I will say there is a bit of luck aspect in this, right? You know, if you are Patrick and Xander and you guys each make 5 birdies, it is better to make them on 10 different holes. 5 different holes for Cantlay, 5 different holes for Xander. If you make 5 birdies, if you both make 5 birdies and make them on the same hole, that didn't do you much good, right? You kind of wasted it. That's called ham and egging, right? Like, oh, I'll do a little bit of this, I'll do a little bit of that. You play well when I play good, or when I play bad, you play well, and vice versa, right? So that's ham and egging it. And then on Friday, they'll go to what they call foursomes, which is just alternate shot. So this is where they're going to play 1 ball. And this is going to be a much more difficult format. You know, breaking par in alternate shot is great. You'll see guys struggle. There's a lot of trust here. There's a lot of staying on script. If you're hitting the tee shots on the odd number holes versus the even number of holes, like keeping everything on pace and on script is very, very important. The guys that have a lot of experience in this format tend to do very, very well. They'll make the cut on Friday, and then they'll do it all again on Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday will be your low-scoring 4-ball, and then Sunday they will finish up with the much more difficult foursomes, the alternate shot aspect of this. As I already mentioned, fantasy scoring is going to be pretty wild this week because there's going to be a lot of birdies being made, and also you can only draft one player from each team. So if you go to try to put Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele in the same lineup, it's not going to let you. And when you look at ownership later in the week, it's really like you have to look at combined ownership, right? How many people are going to pick Cantlay? How many are going to pick Xander? It doesn't really matter, right? They're both going to earn the same number of points. They're both going to be priced exactly the same. The salaries are the same. The outputs are the same. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Pick the one you like more. Doesn't matter. But other than that, it should be, other than all of those things that are different, should be pretty similar to every other week. We're going to see if we can find some statistical edges and see if we can find the best teams. And it's pretty chaotic, right? I mentioned there's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of guys that just vibe. You can kind of, in some scenarios, get away with one guy carrying your team. I mean, it's going to be pretty chaotic. You're going to have some teams you might not have considered that are going to finish inside the top 5. I think back to like Garrett Kigo and Brandon Grace last year, who I think finished 4th. They were both in horrible form coming into this thing. You get a good vibe, you get going. All these guys are good enough to make a bunch of birdies. Usually when they're playing by themselves, it's the big numbers that kind of mess them up. But if you have a partner you can rely on a little bit, it makes that a little bit easier. So a lot of chaos. I expect you and recommend that you embrace it this week. Let's start talking about the course. Let's start talking about the teams. Here's the course key stats model on RickRunGood.com. It is TPC Louisiana, and what you need to kind of remember here is a couple of things. This has been on the schedule for a long time, and it was an individual event until 2017. So we've only had 5 years where this has been a team event, and we've had a lot of other history where this was an individual event. So I'll be the first to admit there's not a lot of highly correlated stats, and they're a little bit wonky anyway. I'm not super interested in anything that I see on the course key stats model this week. It's a Pete Dye design. It's 7,400 yards. It's a par 72. It has average green sizes. I think this week is a lot more about the pairings, your experience, how well you guys play together, what the trust level is. Are you playing well coming in? Do you have complementary skill sets? Is one guy a ball striker and one guy great in the short game? Sometimes that goes really well. So I love the data. I bend the knee to it every single week, but I will be the first to admit that this course key stats model, which does not even show a single stat essentially within the top 35 out of 50 courses on the PGA Tour, is not super valuable this week. We're going to go through the teams and the salaries and their strengths and weaknesses. That to me is much more important than what you're seeing in the course key stats model right now. Now, if you think I'm an idiot, which you are certainly welcome to think, and you do want to look at the teams that have the best adjusted fits, so that takes the stats from above, looks at the last 36 rounds. In this case, it is aggregated for both teammates, and see who has the best fit. There are 2 teams that stand alone, and those 2 teams should be no surprise. It is Patrick Cantlay, it is Xander Schauffele. They're the favorites to win. They have an adjusted fit of 1.53. Colin Morikawa, Max Homa, again, Homakawa. They are number 2 at 1.49. Big gap to everybody else, right? I mean, it's pretty clear there are 2 great teams here. The honorable mention is likely the Sam Burns, Billy Horschel group, but Horschel has not played well in 2023. We'll talk about that in just a second, but there's a big gap to teams 3, 4, and 5. So Thorborn Olesen and Nikolai Højgaard, we will talk about a lot, are the 3rd best adjusted fit. And then Chesson Hadley and Ben Martin are the only other team that has a 1 or more in adjusted fit. So I'm not going to use this as gospel. I'm not going to make a ton of decisions based on adjusted fit. It tells me what I know. The teams I liked, I like even more. And there's a couple of opportunities for maybe some longer shot teams that we'll talk through here as we go into this. So use this for what it's worth. Let's go to the cheat sheet. 4 teams over $10,000 led by Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele at 11,100. Colin Morikawa, Max Homa 10-9. Sung Jae and Keith Mitchell are 10-4, and Sahith Tagala and Justin Suh are $10,000. Does that surprise you? Does that surprise you as the 3rd team? Surprises me a little bit. I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, they both have stellar upside, and I think there is clearly a big 3, and then everybody else we can talk about from there. All right, so let's go into this. Let's just talk about the guys at the top, the Cantlay, Xander, Morikawa, Homa thing. Cantlay and Xander, you are going to be pretty hard pressed to find a better team here, right? I think it's pretty clear that they are by far the best team in this field. If you look at the power rankings, last 36 rounds, Cantlay and Xander are gaining 1.87 together. That is on average, which is an insane number for two guys to put up. And that is far and away the best in the field. Olesen and Højgaard are at 1.4, but if you remove European Tour stuff, I imagine they're going to drop pretty significantly, and they do. So we could do this, weighted, or we could do it by dropping off the European Tour stuff. And if you just do PGA Tour, Cantlay and Xander are by far the best team in the field. Only Collin Morikawa and Max Homa are the only other team over 1 stroke gain per round. They're at 1.25. That's it. 2 teams. So very clearly a big 2 here. If you look at what they've been up to, and if you've been following this channel, if you've been following along, you know what these guys have been up to. Patrick Cantlay's been unbelievable. Patrick Cantlay by himself has been basically the best ball striker not named Scotty Scheffler in the world for the last couple of months. Xander Schauffele, who has not notched a victory since, Travelers last year? Is that right? Scottish Open Travelers, that was back-to-back, has been nothing short of phenomenal. His approach play is insane from tee to... he's just incredibly well-rounded. What you're not going to find on the stat sheet here is the experience, the comfort level of playing together in both of these formats, right? Alternate shot foursomes is a very difficult format to play. Especially if you're not comfortable with the other golfer, you're always apologizing, or they make a rule, hey, we're not going to apologize to each other this week, and you always feel bad if you're putting them in a bad spot. These guys have done it, and they've done it successfully. They should be the favorites, and they should be the most expensive team. Morikawa and Homa are a little bit interesting, right? I think everybody realizes that both of these guys are top tier, probably top 8 golfers in the world at the moment, but I think there are just more questions about the state of their game. Colin's been fine, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda won the Tournament of Champions, had a couple of elite finishes at the Farmers and at Riviera, played well at the Players Championship, but he mixed in a couple of missed cuts at designated events, and he played well at the Masters, but didn't play as well as we thought he would at the RBC Heritage. And then Homa's actually coming off 2 pretty ugly finishes here. His week at the Masters was a T43 in which he lost 3 strokes off the tee. He didn't play particularly well at the match play, and then he missed the cut at the RBC Heritage. So this is a little bit concerning that you are getting basically the worst tee to green version of Max Homa that you've seen since, in a long time. Basically since the fall of 2020. This is the worst tee to green version of 3 starts that we've seen of Max Homa. So not a really good time to be having to rely on your partner to play. You could go both ways here, because we'll talk about it with Billy Horschel in a second. Does a guy who's not playing well or up to their expectation, does he get freed up in a format like this? Maybe in best ball, right? In 4-ball, if you get to play with Collin Morikawa and he's got your back, that's great. Maybe that frees you up. Or does it put more pressure on you? Does it put more pressure on you in the alternate shot format when your game is not as sharp as it has been? So I think they are very clearly the second best team in this field. It's very, very clear to me. I just think that they have more questions than answers. They're playing together for the first time. That can always be a little bit weird, right? Remember last year, Colin and Victor, hey, these are the 2 best players in the field. They're gonna run away with this thing, right? They were the favorites to win. I think they were plus 350. Cantlay and Xander, I'm sure, were up there, but they were supposed to run away with this thing. They didn't play all that well. It's hard to get it going the first time that you play with one another. Same story for Sung J M and Keith Mitchell. So this team came together, from what I understand, rather late. I think they just got together last week at RBC Heritage, or at least announced it. And I like the way that this team sets up from a well-rounded standpoint, right? You've got Sung J M, who through the bag is excellent. He is a top 10 machine. He is a top 15 machine. He drives it well. He putts it well. The short game is that you're never really going to get in much trouble if you are Sung J M. The Keith Mitchell side of things has actually, again, not been as good recently. He's punted strokes. He's lost like 20 strokes to the field over his last 3 starts. Now, one of them was match play. You can throw that out the window. One was a 53rd at the Masters in which he lost 5.5 strokes on approach. And then he lost 3 strokes on approach at RBC Heritage and missed the cut. 4 in a row losing from tee to green. Keith Mitchell has not lost from 4 in a row from tee to green since here. No, that's 3 in a row. I mean, obviously there are some events that are not measured, but this might be the only time, the only time in Keith Mitchell's career he has lost 4 straight measured events from tee to green. That's not great. It's not great. So, again, another elite team with a lot of question marks. And then the final team is Sahith and Justin Suh. This is your high upside, low floor team, right? So if we look at this, last 36 rounds, where do Sahith and Justin Suh show up? Right here. They're like the 12th best team in this field. What they do very well, though, is they are great at the short game stuff. So you'll see them pop up here, right? They gain over a half a stroke, or basically a half a stroke. Putting, we saw that here's what Sahith did last week, which I would argue is a little bit unsustainable. Gained 10 strokes in the short game categories, 5.5 around the green. Justin Suh is someone who can get hot, but can get very, very cold. He's lost 10 strokes on approach in his last 3 starts. He's lost 24 strokes from tee to green in his last 2 starts. Match play and RBC Heritage. I worry about this team. I see the upside. They are at least at times prolific birdie makers, or they can get hot and make a bunch of birdies. Justin Suh is inside the top 50 in birdie or better. This season, Sahith is probably better than that. I feel like he fills it up. He does 14th. So these guys are absolutely capable of filling it up. They are capable of missing the cut. That they are the highest risk team in the 10K range for me. So the way that I look at it, Xander and Cantlay are a clear number 1. Sungjae and Keith Mitchell are exciting, yet have as many question marks as Morikawa and Homa do. And then Sahith and Suh is just like your dart throw, right? That's the way that I assess this 10K range. It is not as great at the top as I mean, like, listen, Homa's got question marks, Keith Mitchell's question marks, and they're very clearly still team 2 and team 3. Isn't that kind of a problem? Are Cantlay and Xander just going to win this? They're just going to win this, right? It's very hard to go back-to-back. It's very hard to win this. They're just going to win this, right? I mean, they are firing on all cylinders. Obviously, there's a lot of luck involved in this format, but man, really, really scary stuff if you're those guys, or if you're the rest of the field about those guys. I think you're going to see a ton of people go to Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim, $9,700 in this 9K range, and I don't think it's horrible, right? Tom Kim's coming off the missed cut. We've seen him play better. Siwoo, I think they actually both missed the cut last week, didn't they? Siwoo missed the cut. Tom Kim missed the cut. Let me just confirm that Siwoo did miss the cut. Yeah, he did. It wasn't horrible. Lost a little bit. Just kind of lost a little bit everywhere. That's not the worst thing in the world because he's been really, really good as of late. I just think most people are going to take their attention and say, oh my gosh, these guys could get lightning hot. They could rally off each other, which I agree with, right? They're both on the President's Cup team. They've got a good rapport already. Like, I think that this could be a pretty dangerous team. I just think they're going to be incredibly high owned. When we get to the, I'm going to task Mike Cavalunas, who does the ownership projections for RickRunGood.com, does a great job. Task him of putting, he's going to have to put ownership projections together. And I have a feeling that when we do the live chat on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, that Siwoo and Tom Kim are going to be pretty popular. If not those guys, Billy Horschel and Sam Burns, right? They've played together here the last couple of years. They've played very well here. I think they finished runner-up and T4 in their 2 trips together. And Sam Burns is starting to turn the corner. I have no problems there. The problem that I kind of have right now is Billy Horschel, right? Billy Horschel has been objectively very bad. And you don't like to see this, right? This is basically, since the start of the calendar year, Billy Horschel has just not had it together. He's only gained strokes twice to the field in 10 starts. He's hemorrhaging strokes off the tee, losing even more on approach. This short game's not very good, and his putter has left him. This is a very, very dangerous combination. I hate this. I hate everything about this. And again, does a spark come out of this format, or does more pressure come out of this format? Now, Billy Horschel, I will to say to his credit, has also the added benefit of the good history around TPC Louisiana. So he won this in 2013 as an individual before this switched to the team event. Then he won it in 2018 as part of a team. He won it with Scott Piercy. Then in 2019, he finished 13th with, was it with Sam Burns? I'll have to go back and look. But then he finished T4 and runner-up with Sam Burns. So he has been very, very good in this format. Billy's good at these weird formats, right? He's good at the match play. He's good at team events. I think it does pull something out of him, and he's going to a golf course he's had a lot of success. So, when I'm asking questions like, hey, is Keith Mitchell going to find something this week? Is Max Homa going to find something this week? Is Billy Horschel going to find something this week? I think that when you look at a bigger picture, Horschel might be the guy who finds something just because of the great history in this format, the great history at this golf course, despite having the really bad statistical profile coming into this thing. If those two teams, Kim, Horschel, Burns, if they catch a lot of ownership, I have no problem going to the other teams in this 9K range. Wyndham Clark and Beau Hossler are playing together, and this is it's not the first time they've played this event. It's the first time they've played together. They've played 5 times with other partners in this event. Wyndham Clark has been phenomenal. Now, we've been tracking this for quite some time, but I will tell you, and this is going to be a little nugget in my newsletter for this week. Wyndham Clark is one of the best fantasy performers of 2023. He has gained fantasy points in 13 straight starts. It is the longest active streak on the PGA Tour. Wyndham Clark, yes. It's amazing. He hasn't missed a cut since Shriners. So his 2023 has been phenomenal. The ball striking numbers are there. A place like RBC Heritage, which did not even allow him to tap into his full complement of skills because of the off the tee play, lost a stroke and a third, still played pretty well. T29. I'll tip my cap to you, Wyndham Clark. I think that's a very, very good stat profile. Beau Hossler, we saw him chip in twice on Sunday for Eagle. That is not going to happen again, but I do like that he is capable of getting the short game hot. He's longer off the tee than you would expect, so that should be pretty decent when they play the alternate shot. I think if you free him up, Beau's issue has never really been making birdies. Beau's issue is that he gives it back with bogeys and doubles. And in this format, that could be sneaky good. JJ Spawn and Hayden Buckley. I love what we're getting out of Hayden Buckley. JJ Spawn, not as much, but that's kind of, I don't think they fit together all that well, but Hayden Buckley is very, very elite in the ball striking categories, and we've seen JJ Spawn get hot. The other two teams, which have a lot of Las Vegas ties to them, 3 Vegas guys out of these 4 by my count, Kurt Kitayama and Taylor Montgomery. This is interesting. So 2 guys that know each other very well. They're $9,100. Taylor Montgomery's skill set. So his results have not nearly been as good as they were in the fall. That was no surprise. We knew there was going to be some regression, but he has a skill set that I think is pretty valuable in this format. He hits it far, and he can just gain 7.5 strokes with the putter. I think that's pretty valuable here to be able to rely on your partner to do that. And then Kurt Kitayama won the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We know, I said it before, this dude's a warrior, right? Might miss the cut, might win the golf tournament, as he's done in his last handful of starts. Hits it farther than you think. He can get hot. These 2 guys are going to have a really good rapport. These 2 guys are going to play really, really well. The other ones are Aaron Rai and David Lipsky. This is team no putt, right? Lipsky hemorrhages strokes with the putter. He's lost in 6 straight. He's lost a 7 of 8. He's lost in 8 of 9 or 8 of 10, whatever that is, and he's played okay. Saw him play well at the Sony Open. Couple of, 3 out of his last 5 made cuts, but his best finish is at T36. Aaron Rye's been phenomenal. Aaron Rye, and I actually think he's playing better than his results are showing. He was leading the RBC Heritage on Friday or something like that. Ends up finishing T48. Another guy who has trouble putting 4 rounds together. If you have trouble putting 4 rounds together, this is your format. These guys got together and they played this together last year and finished 4th. I don't know who's going to make a putt, but they might have two putts at birdie on every single hole in foursomes. In 4-ball. So I know you got to roll the rock here, but these 2, they figured it out last year, and I think they might be able to figure it out again. The 8K range is where things start to get really interesting because there's clearly a steep drop off in raw talent. And some of these guys have big question marks around them, but also these teams can play well and they're likely to play well, right? I mean, it is so random. All of these guys, the difference between golfer, 40 on the PGA Tour and 400 is like not that big. And all of these guys can get hot for 9 or 18 holes at a time, and they just have to kind of do that when their partner is not, and then vice versa, right? It's a very, very dangerous little format to be in. So I don't think you can write any of these guys off. The logical ones to me start with Joel Damon and Denny McCarthy. If you combined these two, you'd make one hell of a golfer, right? Damon could take the driving and second shot portion of things. He's gained strokes off the tee in basically 9 out of his last 11. He's gained strokes on approach in each of his last 3. We saw this stretch here from Sanderson Farms to the Houston Open where he was like an elite ball striker and he just cannot putt. He just gives it all back on the putting surfaces. He's lost 9 strokes putting in his last 2 measured starts. That is not good. So he goes out and finds himself literally the best putter on the face of the earth in Denny McCarthy. So this is a really good example, or could be a really good example of staying on script. You might hear me say that a couple of times this week. So when they go and play the alternate shot format, they're going to decide who's teeing off on the odd holes, who's teeing off on the even holes. And you're going to see like Denny hit the drives onto into the as many par 4s as possible. Damon is going to hit the second shot, and then they're going to hope to have a birdie putt for Denny. Like that is what they will do. Denny is likely not going to take the odds or evens where he tees off on the par 3s because that would mean he's not putting. Actually, I could pull the scorecard and see what that would look like. Before I even do that, a really good scorecard for this format would be 2 par 3s are evens, 2 par 3s are odds, so that you could not get away with strategizing this way. But let me pull the scorecard real quick. All right, here you go. So the par 3s are 3, 9, 14, and 17. So 3 odds. So I would say it is likely that Joel Damon tees off on the odd number holes. Now, I guess we could also look at the par 4s. So you want Denny teeing off on the par 4s. So evens would be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, and then 18 wouldn't be so bad because it's a par 5. So I think that's the play. But right, so that's my point when I say these guys are going to be able to, if they can stay on script, if they can have Damon hit the approach shots and Denny putt. Now the problem with that is if Damon misses a green and then McCarthy has to chip and then Damon has to putt, and you keep doing that, you keep getting off script, you're screwed. So this is the team that I think if they can stay on script, they can play really, really well. I would have loved to have seen Taylor Moore, who has been phenomenal with a partner who is playing a little bit better. There's a lot of this, right? So it's Matthew NeSmith. There's a lot of this. There's a guy who I really like with a guy who's really been struggling or is really below their own expectations. And the Matthew NeSmith stuff is really disappointing because he was just an elite approach player for the vast majority of his career, at least the last couple of years, and we are nowhere close to that. I bet you if we go to the trends page, I bet you he's one of the coldest players in this field over the last 36. Let's see. So this is looking at your 100 round baseline and then saying over the last 36 rounds, are you hot or cold to that? So the coldest player in the field is Billy Horschel. That's concerning considering his history around this place. NeSmith is pretty bad as well. He's losing 3/4 of a stroke per round to himself, to his own 100 round baseline. A lot of it's off the tee. The rest of it is on approach. That is about the worst way that you could be cold. So really unfortunate to see. I wish he was playing a little bit better golf coming in, and I'd be a lot more bullish on those guys. The Canadians here at 8,500, talk about good rapport. They've got it. Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin, another pretty well-rounded team, right? If you go and look at the last 36 rounds and just kind of sort by strokes gained total on the PGA Tour, with a proper sample size, they're the 4th best team in this field. Xander Cantlay, Morikawa Homa, Sung J M, and Keith Mitchell, plus Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin. You know what Nick Taylor's been doing if you've been paying attention. He had a great start to his 2023. He gave it a deep run at the Phoenix Open, finished T10 at the Valspar, T15 in Texas, and then made the cut last week at the RBC Heritage. And then Adam Hadwin, who we know can get scorching hot, especially with the flat stick. Again, hasn't played as well. The approach play's been off, but that's really the only thing. The rest of it I can kind of live with. Maybe he gets a little bit of good vibes. These guys can stay on track. They could fill it up. I could see this being a pretty decent team. And then we have to talk about the Fitzpatricks. Matt Fitzpatrick is here. Obviously, is individually one of the best players in the field. If you go to the power rankings and just sort this by everybody on, remove the senior tour guys because their strokes gains are pretty skewed, and look at the last 36 rounds where, I guess Fitzpatrick is probably not going to show up because he had all those injured rounds, but we said it last week, like what I saw from him the week before the RBC Heritage, which was the Masters, like I had seen enough, right? He looked healthy again. He looked like he was doing everything that he should be doing, and he wins the RBC Heritage, and now he has brother in tow. So Alex I'm not even sure if I have any data. Do we have data on Alex? It's probably not a lot. He's only played 3. Yeah. So he's only played 3 OWGR sanctioned events in 2023. Now, his last one was like 2 weeks ago. It was on the Challenge Tour. He finished T9. He went to Wake Forest. He was a 4-round player at Wake Forest. He was on the Haskins finalist list, I think, in his junior year. He doesn't have status anywhere right now. When he plays and he does get a start, he generally plays okay, generally plays pretty well. You can see he had a start on the European Tour in February. He finished T25 at the Hero Indian Open. When I do get his European Tour, when I do get his starts and his strokes gain metrics, he's a very good ball striker, very, very good ball striker, and very well-rounded. He just doesn't have status anywhere. Looking for a start. Obviously, Matt, he's throwing him a bone here. We saw this with, Chase Koepka and Brooks Koepka. Alex Fitzpatrick is better than Chase Koepka is. So that was Brooks throwing Chase a significant bone. Alex is a talented golfer, just doesn't have status anywhere, and he's trying to catch on. If these guys were to win, I'm almost certain that if they win, they both get the PGA Tour 2-year exemption. So Alex could legit just like change his career over 4 rounds here. These guys have played together a lot. They know each other's game. They're going to be rocking and rolling. No concerns there. Took us a while, but we finally got to what is probably my favorite team here, and the team that I think is the most mispriced. And I don't know if they'll be overlooked. It depends on what the rest of the industry is going to do. But at $7,900, Thorborn Olesen and Nikolai Højgaard are like my faves, right? So let's start with Nikolai, who just accepted special temporary membership status on the PGA Tour. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of him. So he is now allowed to accept unlimited sponsors exemptions for the rest of the year, and it's well deserved. Look at his play on the DP World Tour. We've monitored this for a long time, piling up top 15s, the runner-up at Punta Cana, and then the T28 at the Texas Open, which solidified it. He has not lost strokes to the field in any event since November, the Fortinet Australian PGA Championship. He's a phenomenal, talented golfer, a lot of upside. He's showing it across the world. And then Olesen, even better. Or at least his results have been better as of late. So coming off the T6 at the Hero Indian Open, that was in February. And look at these ball striking numbers. He gained 8 strokes in his win at the Thailand Classic. He gained 7.6 at the Dubai Desert Classic. His last 5 starts worldwide, European Tour starts, all inside the top 20. 3 of them are top 6s, and 1 was the win in Thailand. Really, really talented golfer. These two, I think, are going to be very dangerous. I like the way that they set up for things. Also, Ryan Gerard was the other guy who just accepted special temporary membership status on the PGA Tour. So you'll be seeing him a lot more as well. I find it interesting to look through the $7,000 teams here and see what the strengths and weaknesses are. And honestly, a lot of them are pretty bad teams. If you look at only the last 36 PGA Tour rounds, the best team is Harry Hall and Akshay Bhatia, though they don't have the full 36 for each of them to qualify. And then the next best would be Ben Griffin and Ryan Gerard. But look at how many teams are losing. I mean, there's a lot of losing teams in the 7K range. The other one, and look at like who is going to putt for this Luke List Henrik Norlander team. They are giving away nearly a stroke per round with the putter. Even more than that in the short game because they lose around the green as well. Like, who's going to putt for that team? I would have loved to have seen like Ben Griffin, Ben Martin, right? Like, they should have just let me pick these teams by stats instead of just like who their friends are, right? No, I'm just kidding. I know they want to have a little fun while they're out there too. And we've seen guys like, I might have mentioned it earlier. Brandon Grace and Garrick Higo were horrible leading into last year, and they found a little bit of magic and played well, right? Some of these guys are going to play well, but statistically, there's not a lot of great options in this 7K range. Let's look into the Ben-An SH Kim team, because that's a team that I think could be pretty interesting. Ben-An has what I think you would argue, I don't want to say it's an elite skill set, but it's like a very good skill set in the way he drives the ball, right? He can gain 2, 3, 4 strokes with the driver. The last time we saw him with the Texas Open, he was phenomenal on approach. We've seen him pop on approach. His short game and his putting is a lot better than it used to be. I mean, he used to like, seriously, hat tip to Ben-An. He used to be one of the most miserable putters on the planet, and he has actually been a lot better. His last 3 starts, he's a small positive. His last 6, he's a positive. This year, he's probably a positive, right? I mean, he lost 6 at the Houston Open. That was in the fall. Since January 1st, he is a positive putter. And his around the green play is really good. So I like this Ben-An team. Let me see what SH Kim has been up to. I love his swing. Just aesthetically pleasing. T15 at the Texas Open. He's missed 1 cut since the American Express. He's fairly well-rounded, though he can kind of lose in different places as well. I think this could be a pretty good team. I got to be honest with you. I think this could be a pretty good team. The Ben-An SH Kim team, you saw it in the power rankings. They were one of the few teams to be gaining, a half a stroke per, or even gaining strokes to the field in this 7K range. I think they're pretty valuable. The other one would be, so Eric Cole and Sam Saunders. Unfortunately, this is like all Eric Cole. Right? Sam Saunders, I don't think has status anywhere. I'll pull him up in a second. Here's Eric Cole. You get obviously the big bump from Pebble Beach. You get the big bump from Honda, where he finished second. He played pretty decent outside of that. Above average golf from the Players Championship on. I don't think Sam Saunders has status anywhere, so I'm not even sure the last time he's teed it up. Okay, well, I'm an idiot. He played on the Korn Ferry last week and finished 5th. So he was $7,200. He scored 123 points, finished 5th there, finished runner-up at the Panama Championship in February, missed 2 cuts in between. So it doesn't look like he's playing a full Korn Ferry schedule because he's only played 5 times in 2023. I don't think that's the full schedule, and it is 2 top 5s and 3 missed cuts. These guys go way back, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure they're like childhood friends. So that could be a pretty cool vibe. Okay, I could be sold on this. This would be like your vibey dart throw. Super high upside. Eric Cole finished 2nd at Honda. Played well at the Players. Sam Saunders has played well in the Korn. The other thing about playing, like, there is a little bit I love about the Korn Ferry guys, where the Korn Ferry Tour is, it just demands you to go low constantly. It's just like the setups and the way they play. And honestly, guys are constantly trying to Monday Q. It's just a much more birdie fest tour than the PGA Tour is. And this thing's a birdie fest, man. Just like go freaking low. So I don't mind these guys that play the Korn Ferry schedule. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, we found a decent squad there in Eric Cole and Sam Saunders. They are, $7,000 even. Okay. Interesting. Let's do the 6K range, and then we'll run a model. I would have really liked some of these guys to partner with other guys. This is not splendid. There is literally one team in the last 36 PGA, do I just have PGA Tour rounds? Yes. One team in the last 36 PGA Tour rounds in the 6K range that is gaining strokes to the field in aggregate. Michael Kim and Sung-Yul No. One team is dead even, Paul Haley and Cody Gribble. The rest are losing. That is stunning. Basically the entire 6K range is losing. Wow. Okay. So how do we go about finding some usable options here? Well, obviously, Michael Kim and Sung-Yul No. Let's look at these guys together. We've probably been keeping a closer eye on Michael Kim as of late, so let's see what Sung-Yul No's been up to. He's not doesn't look like he's playing a full schedule anywhere. I don't know what his status situation is, but he's played Punta Cana. That was 3 weeks ago. Finished T38. He played Puerto Rico a couple weeks before that. Finished T29. Okay. Missed the cut at the Honda Classic in horrible fashion and withdrew from a Corn Ferry event before that. It's actually not as bad. I mean, Sung-Yul No had some really dark years. This is actually not that bad, considering that. And then Michael Kim, let's look at the Michael Kim side of things. It's been better, I'm sure. Yeah, 5th in Puerto Rico. He's made 4 straight cuts. He's made 6 of his last 7 cuts. Couple of top 25s in there. T11 at Pebble Beach. This is not bad. That's not bad. That makes sense that they are like statistically the best team in this range. I do want to see though, does Michael Kim, this is my worry. Like Michael Kim makes birdies 19% of the time. 173rd on the PGA Tour. I don't even care. I wouldn't even care if he was ranked. You know what I do kind of want to pull is I want to pull guys whose like strokes gained numbers might not be great, but they just make a ton of birdies. Actually, I guess we could just do that, right? Because that's the type of thing that is probably going to be more valuable this week. So let's go to the Holy Grail. Let's go to the stats page. I could not do the Holy Grail by teams. That would have been, I would have had to like redo everything. And let's do birdie or better for everybody in this field and just sort by their ranks here. Some of these guys have very small sample size. I'm just kind of looking for maybe some of these 6K ranges. Who is that? Grayson Murray at $6,000. Martin Traynor, 39th in birdie or better. Scott Brown, Sam Stevens. Who's Sam Stevens playing with at 6,800? Max McGreevy. Let's see what Max has been up to. This is like a blast from the past, some of these guys. Yeah, it's not good. Really, really not good. Is there anything that I can gain from this? 189th in birdie or better. He's missed basically every cut dating back to Bermuda of last year, which was October. Best finish in that time frame is a T33 at Puerto Rico. It's his only top 50. Basically, the rest are missed cuts. That is really, really ugly stuff. That's worrisome. Boy, who's Scott Brown? Scott Brown's with Richie Warinsky. Scott Brown knows how to play. I mean, think about the matches that he's played with Kevin Kisner. He knows how to play as a partner. Let's see what Richie Warinsky made a deep run at this event before, hadn't he? Am I making that up? He made a deep run in this thing. 3rd in 2021. I don't think it was with Scott Brown. Now I got to look at it. It was with Peter Uihlein. That's right. He's a live guy now. And I'm pretty sure that was like a last minute alternate thing. I don't think they picked each other. I think somebody withdrew and they got each other. Warinsky Warinsky has missed, this looks a lot like Max McGreevy's profile, but at least when Warinsky plays well, he finishes inside the top 25. So he's got 3 top 25 finishes in his last 7 starts, but the other 4 are missed cuts. I don't hate that as much, to be honest with you. And I'm just trying to see if there's anybody who might be, good partners, right? Like, you get Blixt and Lingmerth. Lingmerth's been playing better. I don't know what Jonas Blixt has been up to, but these guys are country mates that are going to know each other very well. Blixt won this event as a teammate of Cam Smith. The first year that this was a team event, he won it. Oh, he's actually playing better than I thought. I mean, he's not playing a lot, but T20 at Pebble, T7 at the Astara Golf Championship in February. That's a Corn Ferry Tour event. Made the cut in Puerto Rico, missed a couple of cuts in between. Let's check his Zurich stuff. I know he's got the win in there and then missed the cut the 2 years after that. I don't know who he was playing with, though. I don't think it was Cam Smith again. I'm not. Maybe they came back to defend, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. All right, here's what we'll do. Let's run a model. And again, I've got the teams loaded in here, and this is going to be pretty wild. So a couple things I need to do. I want to do weighted strokes gain total. So we have a lot of guys that have status all over the place or don't have status, right? We've got like the senior tour guys. We just have a lot of things going on. So let's get some weighted strokes gained in here. Let's do strokes gained. So and remember, I as much as I would love to get into like the off the tee approach around the green putting, we have so many guys who don't have measured rounds that I worry about that. Everyone has strokes gained total and everybody has weighted strokes gained total. So I might put a lot here. I might just put like 50 here, which is kind of crazy, but I think that's the right move based on the field that we have. Now let's do. I want like a lot of birdie or better, honestly, like birdie or better numbers. So let's put 15 on birdies or better gained. Let's put. We could do course history, but that feels a little. Let's just put 5. Actually, what I could do is I could put Andy's. Andy had some comp courses in his article on RickRunGood.com. Let me see what he had on there. I could put those in. All right, so he's got PGA West, TPC Scottsdale, TPC San Antonio, TPC Louisiana. I'm just putting a couple on each one of these. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything crazy here. Just gonna put a couple on. So I've got 27 left after doing course history. We could do. See, I don't want to get into like. I kind of like bonus putting. Bonus putting is like, did you make all your 5-footers and then also did you roll at any from outside of 20 feet, which I think is going to be big here. So we'll do bonus putting. We'll also do like easy courses, right? I want just go shred this thing. Easy courses. I've got 7 left. Again, I want to keep it pretty. Like I could do. I don't care about bogey avoid. I could do fantasy points gained. All right, my number 1 golfer team. Yeah, no surprise. Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. They were likely to come up under any scenario, right? Sungjae Im and Keith Mitchell number 2. So worth noting, they're number 2. Morikawa and Homa are 6. And Burns and boy, where's Burns and they're not in the 10K range. That's I'm looking for them wrong. Burns and who am I thinking of? Horschel. Yeah, they're 50th for me. Wow. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, Cantlay Xander. 2, Sungjae and Keith Mitchell. 3, Benny On and S.H. Kim. That's kind of cool. That kind of passed my sniff test. Ben Griffin and Ryan Gerard is 4. Joel Damon and Denny McCarthy, 5. Colin and Max are 6. Cheston Hadley and Ben Martin are 7. Then you get the Canadians, Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin, 8. We didn't talk about these guys. Justin Lauer, Dylan Wu, 9. And then there's my boys, Olson and Højgaard, 10. Wyndham Clark and Hostler, 11. Dietrich and Victor Perez, I like both those guys, 12. Sahith and Justin Suh are 14. Wow, Sam Saunders and Eric Cole are 15, although, as discussed, a lot of that, well, not really, because I did use weighted strokes gained total. The one I skipped over in 13 was Todd and Kazire. Very interesting. I love this. This is so much fun, right? Like Ben On and S.H. Kim, 3rd in the model. Like, how can you not be having fun? How can you not be having fun? I love this. Okay, well, there'll be more. Salaries took forever to come out, so if you're watching this later than normal, blame DraftKings. No, I'm just kidding. Get your chance to win that, or one of the 2, or one of the 3. I don't know how many I'll give out. At least 2, maybe 3 of the Homakawa Dodgers jerseys. And so subscribe to my email newsletter. It's absolutely free. RickRunGood.com/newsletter. Follow me on Instagram. It's absolutely free. I will see you Tuesday on the channel. I'll see you Wednesday on the channel. Best of luck, and I'll talk to you guys soon.